Did you do something to
No.
Okay. Welcome back to episode 9 of our TV podcast. Today, we are talking about The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6, The Price, as well as The Studio, Season 1, Episode 10, The Presentation, which is the final episode of the first season of The Studio. I wanted to bring up, just because I'm realizing now when I was prepping this episode, I was like, we finally have the chance to talk about the TV that we've been watching on this podcast, as opposed to how we talk about the movies that we watch on our other podcast. Um, so I wanted to mention, which I think I mentioned a couple times at the beginning of us doing this, the rehearsal. It's like it, I feel like I'm watching the greatest season of television that I've ever seen. It's like
Yeah.
so good this new season. I
So,
can't believe it.
a little inside baseball here, which you might not even remember, to be honest, but we when the first season of The Rehearsal was announced, uh, we were talking about maybe covering that on the podcast.
Yeah, I guess
Uh,
that's true.
that was a long fucking time ago, and we had, like, soft plans in place. We were gonna cover it. We were gonna do, like, 1 episode for the whole season, and we had a friend that was really into Nathan Fielder, and we were gonna have him come on. It
Wait,
was a
wasn't that was for the curse, I think, not the rehearsal.
Oh, was it for the curse? Right, the rehearsal
Yeah,
probably would have been too
but too
early.
early. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, it was for the curse. Yeah, actually. Okay, okay,
Regardless,
okay.
same
But
person,
yeah.
but,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, yeah. I actually never finished watching The Curse, and I probably should go back and do that, but man, watching the rehearsal, I'm just like, "This shit is so good." And then on top of that, I've been recently watching, 2, like, comedies, which, like, I'm watching a lot of, like, I think for some reason I'm watching a lot of just, like, silly TV to counteract the stuff that I'm watching elsewhere. I started watching The Righteous Gemstones, which just finished its, like, final season. I finished the first season so far. It's so funny. It's literally like if Succession was, like, dumb as fuck. It's so funny. Um, I don't really know how else to describe it than that. It's probably not even the best way, but man, that show is so good.
Oh, Danny McBride.
Yeah, Danny McBride, one of our great guys. I mean, he's no, he really is. Like, okay, I don't know about great guys as in like morally, but in terms of like comedy and writing comedy, very
Right.
few people doing it like Danny McBride. I mean, he's in a world of his own with like
He
his
should have been
performances.
in, he should have been in the studio.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also yeah, also just in terms of performance, there's, like I was talking to Owen about this, there's some stuff that they do in The Righteous Gemstones, just, like, these little things that, regardless, it's, like, great written, uh, comedy television no matter what, but then there's, like, these little moments where I'm like, "Only Danny McBride is capable of thinking of this detail," and I love the show for that, where they're just like they'll just be totally in like TV mode, like just like stuff is happening, and then out of nowhere, they just have a line that has nothing to do with what's going on screen, just to like throw a joke in, and it's the funniest thing you've ever heard. It's awesome. Really would recommend people watch that. I'm excited to catch up all the way through. And then I just the other day started watching finally for the first time a very popular show, Arrested Development. And
Mm.
let me tell you,
It's funny.
probably the funniest show ever. I mean, not even I don't even know I don't know why I just never watched it earlier. I've wanted to watch this show for, like, years now because people always bring it up to me, but I don't even know how there's another half-hour comedy that could compete, like, joke for joke with Arrested Deve it is so funny. I can't believe I'm watching episodes and, like, half of the stuff in the episodes is just scenes that I've seen in clips before, whether it's, like, on TikTok or YouTube or somewhere else. It doesn't matter. I'm, like, laughing from beginning to end of every episode. It's so good, and I'm, like, halfway through the first season now. I just started, like, 3 days ago, so I'm gonna probably be flying through that. It's really good.
I watched the last season of House MD.
Nice, you're all finished.
Yeah, I finished it.
What is your, like
Um,
on a scale of, like, a 1 to 5-star scale, what would you say that House is as, like, a whole show?
it's, like, not very good, right?
Eh,
It's like 3 stars, 3.5 stars.
okay.
The thing about how well, I when I was watching House, I was doing a lot of second screen watching. Or
I
a
feel
lot
like
of,
it's
like
intended for that.
it's playing on the phone on my phone in my pocket, like, while I'm actually outside doing something else
Yeah.
watching, which is
On
not
your
even watching
phone
it.
in your pocket, you said?
Yeah. So I'm
So
just
you're not
listening
even
to it.
looking at the screen?
Yeah.
Like, go for walks and you play like,
No,
it
like,
plays
doing,
through your
like, yard
headphones?
work, like, doing, like or, like,
So you're listening to house like a podcast?
yeah, sometimes, yeah.
That's so great. Okay.
Um, it's, like, very, I actually think it becoming a meme and a lot of young people getting really into it might be negative because it is very, very much obviously conservative reactionary slop from the early 2010s.
Uh-huh.
Um, uh, so
What can you do?
that's not very good.
Yeah.
That it's becoming like a young person being like, "Oh, this is my favorite TV show is House MD," and it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
but
I've been feeling pretty hopeless about our young people recently.
our young people should watch.
I say as a young person, but, like,
You know what is woke and not reactionary conservative slop, bro? Charlie Chaplin movies are woke as
okay.
fuck.
Okay. This guy that save it for the other pod. Uh, Speaking of slop, let's talk about this new episode of The Last of Us, which I
This is the
think we
penultimate episode of The
yeah,
Last of
I
Us.
think it is. You love the using penultimate
Well, I'm
recently,
just saying,
huh?
like, next week is the
Back
last
to back
episode of this podcast.
yeah, but back-to-back weeks of penultimate episodes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, also that's a good point, although there are some shows well, there's shows that I'm looking forward to that come out soon. Whether or not we do podcast episodes on them, likely not. Next month we get the fourth season of a show that you probably will never even watch the first season of, The Bear, probably the biggest show on TV.
I'm not watching The
Uh
Bear, bro.
yeah, but in terms of getting clicks on the episode, The Bear would probably be the best that we could do. Um However,
I think it might be a
I'm not
lost
gonna
cause for these TV episodes.
I'm not gonna force you to watch The Bear. I don't know if you saw they released the trailer for the 4th season the other day.
I
Uh,
skimmed through it, like, I,
it
like, was scrubbing
looks
through it on my phone.
it looks a lot like final season mode. I can't be sure, but it feels like the tone of the trailer is very much giving this is the last season, which they're putting them out so fast, and the show is such a big deal that I feel like they would probably just keep going for a long time, but also Jeremy Allen White is becoming a bigger movie star,
He's
and
also
Io
old.
Debris that has nothing it's not like the point of the show is
He's
that he's
aging out of the
young.
role.
No, he's not.
Jeremy Allen White is aging out of the role of the bear.
But no, like, what's his name? Eben Moss-Backrack is in
The
Fantastic
Thing.
Four.
Yeah.
You know, Io Debris is blowing up as well. Like, they're all kind of becoming really popular, and maybe it's just not good scheduling wise to put out tons of seasons of this show while they're getting even more prominent roles. So I
They
don't know.
figured that
That's
shit
the
out with Euphoria, and those are all movie
the
stars on Euphoria, and
yeah,
they figured that shit out somehow.
exactly. I don't know. We'll see, but it feels like the final season is what I'm getting at.
Final
Anyway,
Destination.
sure. Again, what's up with you and transitioning to conversations that we're gonna have on the movie pod? That's not what's happening here. Anyway, the other thing that we should mention before we actually talk about the Last of Us episode on the subject of final seasons or new seasons is that they said that they're going to need a fourth season to tell the story.
Craig Mazin said that. I don't understand the way that he said it confused the fuck out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Uh,
Wow.
well, because did you see the full quote where it just so happens that we're actually going to need another season to tell the full story, and it's like it's a confusing way. It's
Well,
because it makes it
also,
sound like there's not planning. It makes it sound like that season 3 had not been written, and you know what I mean?
yeah, it's weird because Catherine O'Hara said that the third season is going to be focused on Abby. And
Yes.
so if this
Well, the
season is
4th
focused
season,
on
yeah,
Ellie and next season is focused on Abby, what could the fourth season possibly be about? Are you just gonna
they're gonna
make
stretch this shit out, bro. They're
yeah, well,
stretching
that's
this
what
shit out.
when I saw somebody saying there's actually a couple things I wanna talk about that I saw tweets about, but on the subject of this, I saw somebody say that they're turning it into The Walking Dead, and it's like, that is what it feels like. It feels like we're about to go Walking Dead mode,
Well,
and
The
milk
Walking
this
Dead is an
thing.
interesting comparison because The Walking Dead is also an adaptation of a comic book series.
Yes, that went
But
on for way too many seasons.
right, but the comic book series is very different. It kind of like just took ideas of characters and like the general premise from the comic book series. Yeah, your little kitty cat. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, he's on my bed.
and then it took like big you know big differences like big. This is like a pretty mostly straightforward adaptation, mostly
Yeah. I
of the
mean, it
video game.
changes things, but not in the way
Yeah,
that The Walking Dead might have, I guess. I don't know. I stopped watching The Walking Dead after, like, season 4 or
I
something.
liked. I
Uh,
never watched the show, but I like the comic books. I like the Walking
okay.
Dead
Did
comic
you
book.
play
Yeah.
any of those, like I guess the video games they made were, like, just the comics, right? Like, they were just, like, story games?
I hate the Telltale games,
Oh,
which is like those
okay.
Walking Dead games.
Yeah, like, those studio what else do they
Yeah.
do?
They have it's called so they did 2 Batman games that I played.
Okay.
They also did well, they don't exist anymore, they went bankrupt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they also did the Wolf
Interesting.
Among Us, you know about that?
I do know about that,
Yeah,
yeah.
they did the Wolf Among Us, and they
Okay.
also trying to think, they did, like, a bunch of them. I don't really like any of them because it they're like they're like American versions of light novels, which are like a Japanese kind of video game thing, where it's like you're just
Mhm.
reading. But the difference with the Telltale games is that they're trying to trick you into thinking you're changing the story of the game.
Yeah.
You're not changing the story of the game, really.
So it is just
It's an
reading.
illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Well, anyway, now that we got that out of the way, we could talk about the episode. But I want to talk about two things regarding tweets. Because
Tweets
well, just like I think there are important conversations to have about the show that
on
relate to
Twitter,
this episode or just in general or X's, whatever you want to call them.
Zeets.
Yeah,
Talking about
Zeets.
we're talking about Zitter.
Uh, I said, did you see this one that was getting a lot of attention where somebody said The Last of Us is like the first show they made with entirely no subtext? I'm
I
like,
did see that. That's really funny.
so we've talked about this before on the episodes, and I think it's an interesting point of conversation because they're right, and we also are still going to try to find a way to defend it. Uh, You know what I mean? Where it's like it is bad. Like it is really bad, a couple of the decisions that they make.
Yeah, I saw somebody also on Zitter say that
Consider.
that Neil Druckmann, like this kind of their like artistic, like auteur interpretation of what's happening with the season. Because most people are just blaming for everything they don't like fans of the game, right? Everything they don't like
Yeah.
about the season, they're kind of just blaming on Craig Mazin because
Right,
he's like
because he's
the new
yeah,
piece in the creative part. But I
right.
saw somebody say that Neil Druckmann kind of took all of the bad faith criticism of the second video game and is like action and like kind of took that criticism and like internalized it when helping adapting this TV show. And I thought that
Well,
was
it's interesting because the
interesting.
second thing I wanted to talk about has to do with Neil Druckmann
Hmm.
making a or at least commenting on a creative decision. I don't know if it was his decision to make, but um and it has to do with a detail in the episode, and we'll go through the episode kind of in order like we have in the past, but I just thought it was interesting because I saw this comment he made about the decision in the show to have Joel reveal on the porch scene that they would have uh, had a cure, with if Ellie if he didn't save Ellie, they would have had a cure. He says on the porch that like they would have had one, and in the game, it's more ambiguous where it's like, oh, they could have or they couldn't have, and we don't really know. And his comment was something along the lines of it like making more sense because it's like more of a moral question, and a lot of people I saw were saying that that's like like a lot of people were pointing to the fact that the video game and like obviously we're talking about subtext like this stuff makes more sense in the game as it is. And I was thinking about it and I was like, you know, he's he's people could argue over it still, but, like, I don't technically think it's a bad decision. In fact, I kind of feel like I see where he's coming from because essentially what he's saying is that it's a tougher moral question to have Joel know that they would have saved them and still save Ellie. Whereas, like, in the game, because it's up in the air, you have more of a reason to defend Joel. Whereas, like, in the show, you kind of it's harder to do that and the line becomes a little more blurred because it's like no like it would have saved them and so
I noticed that difference, and I kind of interpreted that, like, that specific change in what Joel says as the character of Joel in the show who is, like, a different character than the video game, right? Um, like, the character of Joel in the show, like, blaming himself, like, way more,
sure.
and it's not even so the way that I read it
So
wasn't
it's
even
not even
that.
necessarily that that it would have been a cure.
Yeah, it's I wasn't even reading it like that, like, Joel, like, actually did know for sure any more information about, like,
Yeah,
"Oh, they definitely would've done it," but it was like when admitting to Ellie, he had so much shame that he's like, "Yeah, probably." Like, yeah.
yeah, which is also I think a decent writing decision. Like I think I don't, and I'm not going to defend the writing of the entire show because as we just said, some of it's really bad, but it's like also some of it I think is being approached with a little bit of bad faith where it's like if if we were adapting the game and none of these changes were made, what's the point? You know, which we've already had this conversation on the pod before, but I do think it's a little bit silly where it's like sometimes people point to something and it's like this makes way more sense in the video game and I'm just like I don't, like I kind of trust these people to make it a TV show instead. Like I don't know. Whether or not it's good is still debatable because there are other avenues where where like that where they could have gone and maybe still kept some of the subtext, still made things interesting. But like that specific choice, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's like they're not always wrong for changing something.
Yeah, I was thinking about this idea of, like, what's the point, what's the point of adapting it? Because that is, I think, a lot of people's first gut reaction to the show existing at all is like, oh, it's even we have friends that don't watch the show, and they were kind of like, oh, but it's just like the game, right? It's just like watching cutscenes of the game, and it's like it's
Yeah.
not, right? But even if it was, it's like I think there is something to be said about the performance aspect of it,
Yeah.
and it's like almost turning it into a play where it's like, okay, now like multiple runs of a play where like different actors kind of play the characters, and it's like, yeah, uh I almost said what's his name? Pedro Pascal is a different performer than Troy Baker voice acting mocap,
Yeah.
uh and that alone I think is turns it into an interesting exercise. But
I agree. I mean, I wanted to talk about Pedro Pascal specifically this episode, but also
really
just
good
in
actor.
general. I mean,
Really good
it's
actor.
it's like kind of unbelievable. Like he's and again, I think we've you and I, but also maybe on the podcast I've talked about the fact that he doesn't always know how to pick them, and maybe he is
It's
doing a
not
little
always his
bit.
fault though,
Yeah, I mean, he's also like
Yeah.
this is like it's like that's TV, but even some of his movie work, it's like, well, why'd you do that? But hopefully we're moving in a better direction, because
Oh, he is
like
in Materialist, right? I was gonna say
he
he's
is a
just doing
materialist.
franchise stuff,
Yeah,
but
it's just
yeah.
Fantastic Four, but Materialist, I'm like excited for. I mean, he looks like he's good in it.
Yeah.
Uh, even if he's making kind of like whether or not Materialist is good, it's like the decision on paper is there,
To
and
be
that
in the new
is
Celine Song movie.
yeah, and like that means something a
Yeah,
little
with
bit
Chris
more.
Evans
Yeah,
and
well,
Madam Web.
yeah, and Madam Web. Yeah, I saw somebody post like a this is so unrelated, but they posted like a Final Destination ranking list with Madam Web on the
Yeah, I
list. It
saw
was
that.
like the 6 Final Destination movies and Madam Web, and I was like, "What?"
I saw that.
That was silly. Anyway, uh, yeah, I like he's so good, and I'm like, he's so talented. I want to see him in more good stuff, and, like, when you watch him in the show, you're like, that I think it's what you said, where it's like, the show kind of has a reason for existing if it means that Pedro Pascal is this good at playing the character. Like, aside from the changes in the game and whatever, it's like, I will watch 2 seasons worth of TV for this guy
Will they
alone.
watch 2 more?
That's the big question because I'm like, I if some of the mistakes of this season, and again, I've still enjoyed the season quite a bit, but if some
Your
of the
girl,
mistakes
Caitlin
of
Dever, is the lead in
yeah,
the next season, though.
that is true, and that is appealing to me because I think she is. I don't wanna say she's the same class of actor as Pedro Pascal, I don't know if that's been proven yet, uh, but she's shown some tremendous talent in multiple projects, and I feel like she'll do it again in this one. And I think she's a really compelling actor, and I don't know if I'd watch the 4th season, that might lose me. I don't if they
For
center it
well,
on, like, a different character that is just, like, not even in the show right now,
also,
uh,
when the fuck is the 3rd season even going to come out? Like, what's the timetable on this?
yeah, I
Like,
don't know
in
because it's also
3
like
years?
yeah, you're also unless they already filmed some of the scenes with, like, like Bella Ramsey and whatever. I don't know because they have to like overlap in story. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's gonna
I
be.
yeah, I don't
I guess
like
they technically don't. I mean, most of like what we're seeing from Bella Ramsey's perspective, or from Ellie's perspective right now, like Caitlin Dever is just not in these episodes. So, I guess they could do a whole season where Bella Ramsey just isn't in it.
yeah.
Um,
But also, when is that coming out? In, like, 3 years from now? When you're 30 years old? Like,
that's not what I'll be in 3 years, but okay.
basically,
Sure, I mean, but you don't have to say it like that because that makes me have a crisis live on the pod, so I'd prefer if you use different language
and
when addressing my age, but
but you know what I mean? It's like,
No, yeah, that is
dude,
a
like, what the
problem, but
fuck?
that's also just, like, the TV model now for, like, these big shows, so that's a problem for them to
The
figure
Pit,
out.
a new season of The Pit comes out in, like, 3 4 months, 5 months.
Well, and you know what? We'll be talking about it here on this pod, uh, hopefully,
Yes.
if you ever finish the
Yes,
1st
yes,
season.
yes.
How
I
far in are you, by the way?
like, 4 episodes?
Oh, gee, come on, man.
How
It's
many
it
is
gets
this,
it gets so
15?
good. 15. It gets so good, dude. Just wait till
So
you get
many.
to it's really not. They're so entertaining. It's also like just wait till you get to there's a stretch from episodes like I want to say it's like 7 or 8 all the way through the end where like you will not want to look away. Like one you just have to get through a couple more episodes, which to be fair are also great episodes, but I guess maybe not as compelling for you. Uh
It's not woke enough.
it it's
That's my
pretty
thing.
woke.
That's my thing. I've been watching all these Charlie Chaplin movies, and they're so woke, and I'm like, I
Oh,
need
it's pretty woke. There's a whole like lot of woke in the show, especially my dog is on camera now. I'm sorry. Right next to my cat. Look at them. They're just buddies. They might start fighting, but if they do, then I'll just have to yell at them and pause the recording. Anyway, um it's
um
pretty woke, but okay, let's talk
So this
about
whole episode is a flashback. This
the
whole
episode.
episode, it's
Yeah,
like
the
it
episode's
goes
a
through
flashback.
all of Ellie's birthdays since the last season ended.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
framed using her birthdays, but we'll start with a flashback that is unrelated to Ellie, which is the opening of the episode. Joel and his brother and his father are have a flashback scene that
yes.
starts the episode before we get to all of the Ellie flashbacks. This is kind of I don't know if I'm assuming this is not in the video game, but this is one of those things where it's like you really don't want subtext in the show. Like it's like you really want to spell out what is
Well,
happening
it's like,
for
yeah,
for the viewer.
this is like real, like, this is a very popular TV show ass writing.
Yeah.
It's because it's, oh my god. This whole scene could have been written into the show without having the scene here, without have us because it's literally, it's like Neil Druckmann sitting down in front of a camera and saying like, "Yeah, Joel and his father, like Joel had like a rough kind of childhood, but his father kind of like wasn't the best father in the world and was aware of that. And he had a conversation with Joel one time and was like, when you have a kid, hope like I'm doing a little bit better than my dad, and hopefully you'll do a little bit better than me." And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's
you know
it's
what
like
would
a
have been
10-minute scene just
even
setting up that
even if
one
you
line.
yeah, even if you wanted to keep the scene in the episode, you know what you could have done? Is just have him not say that, and then 20 minutes later, when Joel gets angry at Ellie and then makes up for it, a person with a brain watching it would have been like, "Oh, this is like that scene that happened 20 minutes ago with Joel and his dad." But instead, he's like, "Hopefully, you'll be a better father than me." Okay,
Yeah,
dude.
it's
Alright.
very, like, kind of
Alright,
feeding you
man.
the themes. I will say, though, it's not
It's not like the worst scene.
intelligent,
It's just like, if
but
they
it's very
remove the
sweet.
line, it's better.
It's very sweet. This whole episode is just very sweet.
Yeah, it is, and I'm like, it's really like, you don't have to do a lot to fix these things. That's one line. Like, it's like, if you just take that line
That whole
out
scene,
of
to be honest, you could take
sure, but
that whole
like
scene could be written into the episode way
sure, but
not
even
as
if you just removed the
clunky.
line and had him say something else, it's immediately like at least a little bit better, like a fraction better. Um, and then obviously, uh, there's more of that stuff later in the episode, so you'd have to cut that too. But yeah, then we get to the Ellie flashbacks, and we start with a birthday from 5 years prior. This is the one where Joel talks to Seth at the bar to get him to make a cake, and then Joel fixes up and makes Ellie a guitar,
Yeah,
and then
he,
he
like,
gives her the
basically makes her a
yeah, he basically
guitar.
makes a guitar from scratch,
Yeah.
and then the cake, and then there's, like, a really cute moment when she eats the cake, and
Yeah.
this is probably well, I guess the next birthday is probably the sweetest, but this one
The
also, like
next one is a little
yeah,
ridiculous in terms of how, like, sweet and how much of a
I was
good
so
guy Joel
yeah,
is. Like,
I was messed up during
it's
it,
like the
but
next like, the second one where he takes, Ellie to the museum, it's basically like,
yeah.
"Oh, Joel is, like, a fictional the best dad,
Yeah,
this
which,
girl could
like,
ever
and to
have."
be fair, I
Like,
like, you can't show me stuff like that, dude, because I'm already, like, so I literally, like, I was gonna tweet after this episode and be like, "You're not allowed to make episodes like this, actually." Like, because it's, like, kind of mean what you're doing, essentially, which is, like,
it's kind of
creating
it's like he is it's impossibly thoughtful,
yeah,
almost, how
yeah.
insanely like, it's
Not only is
crazy.
it, like, he could have literally done, like, nothing. He could have gotten her, like, like, he could have bought her, like, a gift for, like, $5, from like the local from like their whatever, I guess, like their little apocalypse market, their little apocalypse supermarket, and I still would have been like, this is too much. Like, you guys can't, but like, because you're not allowed to just like show me good dads on TV or in movies or anywhere. Like, it's like this is at the core of like what affects me most in media. And what they're doing is like so over the top. And again, I'm not complaining because I just like kind of cried through the
No, it
whole
was
episode.
very
I thought it was
sweet. That's the
lovely.
whole like, if you like these
Um,
characters and you're invested in it, you're gonna like this episode, you know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, but it's also just like it's too much in a good way, but also in a bad way. It's like I don't know that I'm supposed to have watched that.
it was like I really this one the museum thing was like, "That's too much." It was, like, so,
I loved it though. I
impossibly thought, but it was like, it was really like, "Oh, Joel is actually the greatest dad of all time." Like,
yeah, I mean, the T Rex on its own, I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. And then they go to outer space, and
yeah, then they go to outer
I'm like,
space.
that's so sweet when she like breaks out the helmet with a rock. Like, it's I don't know, it's very nice, and it's like real. The thought is interesting because it's like you say it's like so thoughtful. It's also like different in the world that they're in, that I think is interesting, because really on paper it's like he found this place while on patrol, so he like knew of its existence, and then all he did was bring her there. So
But he
so
found the
yes,
tape. That's the
that
part
is
where I'm
the
like,
that
"That's
yeah, that's the part that's
crazy."
crazy.
Yeah.
That's the part that's crazy. I mean, that's like unbelievable, but you know what I mean? It's like I do think that there's like a dip, because it's like now you have to consider things that just like you never like, or you don't, I should say, you don't have to consider things that you would have to consider in the past, where it's like I am, like part of the predicament of being a parent is like your kid wants something you can't afford or whatever. And like in this setting, it's just like you could mostly, if you're in Joel's position, you can mostly get whatever you want for her. That's like at least known to her. Uh because obviously she's living in a different world than kids do currently. But it still is like, yeah, it still is so sweet. I would have loved that gift. That would have been like the coolest thing in the world. I would have it's awesome. Yeah, so there's those scenes, and then there's a scene that's a little bit different in tone and Ellie's reaction and everything, which is Joel walks into her room, tries to surprise her by coming back from work early, uh, and finds her with another girl,
Canoodling.
presumably hooking up, doing drugs, and getting tattooed by her all at the same time.
Yeah, all at
And
once.
yeah, well, not like literally, but but they're all in the room for him to see, you know? It's like the weed is still like right on the counter, and like the tattoo gun is in the corner, and it's like it's all very conveniently there for him to spot. Um and yeah, he kind of freaks out, and I it's funny because I didn't watch this episode live on Sunday night. I watched it the following Monday afternoon, and so I opened Twitter to see you and like a million other people tweeting like Joel homophobic arc and like being like all this stuff about Joel being homophobic. And I was like, what happens in this episode? And then I got to that scene and I was like, oh, that's funny. He's not like I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting him to be like explicitly homophobic because of the way people were tweeting about it, where like I thought he was gonna like call them a slur or something.
No, but he does go
um
like, "Oh, so you're experimenting with girls?" And then
yeah,
she's
which
like,
is
"It's not an
like,
experiment." And then he
but
goes, "You
that's
don't know what
also
you're
like
talking about."
he's also like some old country guy who like, like
Yeah.
before this apocalypse started, we could probably assume that Joel's political opinions were not the most left leaning. And so the fact that the acceptance happens essentially like overnight is a compliment to his character, I think, like that he's good natured, because considering what his views on that probably were before the apocalypse, um, they turn pretty much immediately when his own, or I guess I don't know, you wouldn't call her his daughter, but his daughter, um, like when when it happens uh to Ellie, he's like, he changes his mind pretty fast. And then he part of this scene is that he gives her her own space. He like agrees to let her move into the garage, so that they're
Yeah.
in separate spaces.
Areas, yeah.
Yeah, and she has her own privacy and stuff. She's becoming an adult.
One of my favorite, little pieces of dialogue in this season is when he goes like, "This is my house and my rules," and then Ellie's like, "This isn't your house." Like they gave both of us this house to live in.
Yeah, which
It's
is
like
why I was like hesitant to call her his daughter, because it's like,
yeah.
but
Well,
she is.
it was really like and that moment is really like, "Oh yeah, dude, it's like a different world.
Yeah,
This is not the same world.
yeah.
It literally is not your house. You live in a fucking commune in the apocalypse."
Right, you
Like,
literally can't, like, you have really no authority in the same ways that a normal parent does, where it's like you're not financially responsible for this person. You don't, I mean, in some ways you offer protection, but also so do the rest of the people in this community. So you like have no real like exclusive ownership over this person. Like you really just are like it, it's like like a codependent relationship, especially because some other people in the commune are like actually related by blood, and so I guess even if the same rules apply, they at least are like you know uh, forced to be connected to each other. Um, yeah, that's a good scene. And then uh, we get a final birthday where he gifts her with the ability to go out on a patrol, something that she has been wanting to do for a while.
and nothing
And
bad
they go on
happens,
and they go
and
on
nothing
and
goes
nothing
wrong.
bad happens. They go on what he calls the safest route. And then they stumble upon people who have been infected, one of which is Gail's husband Eugene, who Gail referred to in, was it the first episode of the season or like the second? It was very early episode in the season, and we knew he was a character that existed, but we didn't know if we'd ever, when she describes Joel killing her husband, a lot of people were like scratching their heads, being like, "Did I remember? Did I forget something from the first season?" And it's like, "Nope, you didn't." And this is the flashback scene that explains that. Like 5 episodes later, he is infected. He
Is it
begs
Bill Burr?
Joel. Is it Bill Burr?
Yeah,
No,
is who is that actor that
it is
plays
not Bill Burr.
No, who I'm so serious, who is it?
It is Joe Pantoliano.
Okay.
You said, "Is it Bill Burr?"
I no,
Come
yeah,
on.
I no, I thought it kinda looked like Bill Burr. Okay,
This guy is
Joe
in
Pantol yeah, yeah. No, it's
Memento, The
yes, it's the guy from The
Matrix, The
Matrix, the guy from The Matrix.
Fugitive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's Cypher
yeah.
from The Matrix. I should've yeah, 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 yeah. That
Anyway, so they find him. He kind of like he knows he's infected, but he begs them to take him back to Gale so that he could say goodbye to his wife before they kill him. And
it looks like Bill Burr.
not really,
He kind of does,
just because
yeah.
he's got like a small bald head. Like,
Yes, what do you mean? Yeah.
so if I shaved you bald, you'd look like Bill Burr.
Kevin.
Exactly.
Kevin.
Uh, what? He doesn't look like Bill Burr,
A
dude.
little bit, he does a little bit.
Okay,
Anyways,
whatever.
it doesn't matter.
He's like he's like 30 years older than Bill Burr.
Well, no, that's why I was like in the while watching the episode, I was like, "Oh, is that Bill Burr with, like, prosthetics and old age makeup?"
Okay. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be crazy for Bill Burr to appear in an episode. He is like acting a lot recently. But
Yeah, he's in
anyway,
stuff. Anyways.
um like I was saying, he begs them to return him to his wife so that he could say goodbye before they kill him. Joel promises Ellie that they will do that, and then he takes him over to like this gorgeous lake, and shoots him in the head, and kills him. So he broke the promise that he made to Ellie. Ellie finds them, and then they go back to Gale, and Joel tells Gail a lie about how Eugene died, and then Ellie uh, pretty much immediately makes a correction. It was like, "That's not true. This is what Joel actually did," and then Gail is very upset. One thing that I was talking to, and maybe this is just like my perspective on it, and people aren't going to agree with this at all, but I was talking to my girlfriend when we were watching the episode, and I was like, it is kind of like, obviously what Joel did is fucked up. It's also kind of fucked up to bring Gail's husband back to her so that she could watch him get shot right in front of her.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I was
Like
kinda
it's like
telling
like
my
I don't know that
sister.
I would love that either. Where it's like now my husband comes back to me, and instead of just knowing that he died, I also have to watch him die. Like,
I think that the only thing Joel did wrong in that situation was lie to Ellie
yeah.
and say like, "No, I promise we're gonna do this thing," and then just not do it. Like, that's the only thing he did wrong because it's like
Yeah, because otherwise
taking
he's compromising the safety of all the people there.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
and then he's killing this guy in front of his wife. Not to mention, like, maybe his wife is like begging to like see him, like not from a distance, like they're up close. And then if he turns, it's like she might die too.
yeah, and then
It's
also,
like it's
like,
weird. I
coming back,
like
Joel said all the right things and basically saying like, "Hey, well, your husband was very brave and he died with dignity." And then
yeah,
Ellie just jumps in and is like, "Actually, no, he wasn't brave. He was super pathetic and died with no dignity at all." And it's like,
yeah, and it's like, what the
"Okay."
fuck? Yeah,
It's like, "Okay."
I mean, obviously, like, she knows her husband, and so whether or not she believes that to be true is up to her. But like, that's probably better to hear. Sometimes you gotta lie to people.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking that when I was watching, and I was like, yeah, obviously, like, I get why Ellie's so beat up about it. It's also like, dude, that would suck. Like, I don't think I'd want to watch my husband get shot in the head right in front of me. Actually, I think I'd probably be good just seeing his body after the fact. Um, anyway, so that happens, and then we get the famed porch scene at the end of the episode, and this also is kind of what we were hinting at before when we talked about Joel revealing the like if the cure would have worked, and also kind of the scene that we were referring to is maybe not having any subtext. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's also just like Pedro Pascal at the height of his abilities as a performer.
Yeah, he's cooking. I thought it was good. I mean, it's obviously, like, very obvious performance as well. He's, like,
Yeah.
crying and saying, like,
Yeah,
I'm sad and I
it's
love
like one of
you,"
those,
but,
like,
like
best acting compilation,
yeah, like,
kinda
"You
things
I
that you'd see
abandoned
in,
my
like
child."
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
like, you would definitely see it in one of those videos. That doesn't mean it's not good
No, it's of
also,
course it's
like
good, but it's not subtle though,
no, it's
because
not,
nothing about the
um
show is subtle.
yeah, and I've kind of learned to accept that, and don't even really totally have a problem with it, because Pedro Pascal is, like, that good. That was my takeaway from watching the whole episode is, like, I don't know if I love Joel as a character because he's such a good dad, or if I specifically want Pedro Pascal to be my dad. But either way, I'm like, it is a reason to watch the show, except for the fact that the episode ends with us back in the present day where Joel is now once again dead. Not that he wasn't this episode, but we could see him for a moment.
For but a moment.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is probably the last of the Joel flashbacks since they dedicated a whole episode to it. I mean, we get one episode next week, and then I don't think season 3 would really wanna do flashbacks with Joel
Uh,
considering it's gonna be focused on Abby.
we might see Joel kill people again in season 3, but
You mean
like
because
in Salt Lake City, like the
oh,
flashback to that,
okay.
but I guess
Alright.
other than that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not gonna be, like, as emotional and thoughtful as this episode, I guess.
Um,
Well,
yeah, so next
I
week's the
mean
last episode. It's gonna be a big fight scene between Ellie and the gang and Abby, and, a lot of people are probably gonna die,
yeah.
and then it'll end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Uh, takeaways from this episode? Anything you want to say before we move on to the studio?
It was very sweet, it was very bubbly. I think that, it is better directed than some of the other Neil Druckmann directed episodes. It's also notable that Neil Druckmann
Mhm.
directed this episode. Do you think Neil Druckmann wishes he could have just been the showrunner for the TV show instead of Craig Mazin?
Uh, sure.
Well, it's like because it's like I bet it was like HBO just wouldn't have let him have do it because he's never done that before.
Yeah, and Craig Mazin is like established as a
He did Chernobyl,
yeah,
like
he did
yeah,
Chernobyl. Yeah.
which is a big
Well,
deal. Um,
I mean,
Jesse
I'm
Buckley, incredible performance in Chernobyl. Um,
mhm.
Oscar,
You're killing it with bringing up things that are not related to this episode
it's related.
on this
Chernobyl
pod.
is also though a show that kind of lacks a lot of subtext.
Yeah, yeah. I don't I people lots of people have told me to watch that show. I think we
It's
even
good
talked
though. I
about it
like
on
it.
this pod, and I'm just like, I'm not super wanting to check it out.
But it'll be like pregnant Jessie Buckley like crying and then running into a contaminated room. It's like
Uh-huh.
I wonder what that means?
Yeah, I see.
Oh,
Is she's not like the main character in that show.
she's one of the main characters in the
Okay, it's
show.
like an ensemble
Yeah,
kind of deal.
yeah.
Okay. Speaking of ensembles, let's talk about
The
the
studio
studio's season finale.
finale. This
It
episode
is a
opens up
two-parter
with
also.
Dave Franco doing a
Yeah, my favorite part of the episode. He
really.
literally I thought it was so funny. I thought when he was like, I'm gonna go gamble with the magic tricks they taught me and now you see me.
That was
I was
funny.
like, this is the funniest thing ever.
He was doing like a fucking like SpongeBob cartoon character voice.
Yeah.
He was like, "Here's what happened on last week of the studio." Oh,
He's so
the gang
I
got
think
really hyped up and fucked up in Vegas. What? And they got to perform at CinemaCon, which is basically like Comic Con for movies. And it's like,
what what I took away from this episode, we're gonna talk about like a lot of the like bigger picture stuff about like how this episode works as a season finale, what we want out of season two or whatever. But like the big thing I took away from this episode, which is also kind of what I took away from last episode, is that Dave Franco and Zoe Kravitz are so good that I want celebrities as funny as them as series regulars moving forward. Like I need people like that to come back in season two. I need them to find more people like that to be main characters in season two. I think that is ideal. I honestly wish they found a way to involve more of them. I wish they could have even gotten Zach Efron to do more than one episode or like whoever. I mean, they involved Nicholas Stoller for a number of episodes, but he is a director, not like
Oh
a
my god,
comedian the way Dave
such a
Franco is.
funny joke
But
when Sal, like, corners Nick Stoller and is like, "If you
yeah,
walk right now, I'm gonna get Sean Levy to direct
yeah,
him."
bring that up. Yeah,
That
that's
shit is
good.
so funny.
No, it's a really funny episode, but that was just like what I took away from it, which was like the show leaning into so many like great guest performances in the back half of the season is I think the best way for them to move forward. I hope that is like a regular part of season 2 when we get there. Like I mean Dave Franco I thought was hilarious, but Zoe Kravitz also is so good in this episode as she was last week and in her previous appearances. But we could talk about the rest of the episode too. Like plot wise, it is just a continuation of what we talked about last week, which is that they're at CinemaCon. But this episode, it is the morning of their presentation, and they have to recover from all of the stuff that we talked about last week and be ready to present. That is a major obstacle considering all of the things we mentioned happened last week. Uh, but then they managed to get up on that stage by the end of it.
Yeah, they
And
fucking locked in.
they locked in. Well, first of all, the I'm like honestly not totally surprised. I feel like there is like a realistic scenario in which an actor like Dave Franco or Zoe Kravitz would just be totally out of it and then able to get on the stage and
Yeah,
present like an actor
have
before
you
collapsing
performed
off
have
stage.
you performed ever? Like, have you ever, like, done, like, stage stuff where you have to, like, talk to the
No.
audience? It's like,
No, I've acted in, like, the smallest capacity, but never on stage.
okay, it's like it's a whole yeah, it is like a lock it or
Yeah,
die moment because a lot of the times when it's like you gotta do, like, 4 performances in a row and you've been rehearsing for weeks, you just get fucking sick, dude, and it's like
yeah,
you gotta just lock in and not be sick when you're on stage and then be sick when you're off stage.
yeah,
Yeah, it is like because it's like, adrenaline and stuff, but, like, Dave Franco and Zoe Kravitz are, like, the most professional, like, A-list actors, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, well, in this episode, yeah.
Well, yes,
Just,
right.
like, I don't know if I'd call Dave Franco the most professional A-list actor in general,
He's in Now
but
You See Me.
he's also in 2 and now soon to be 3, so,
He's returning in Now You Don't?
yeah,
Really?
I'm I'm pretty sure. Why wouldn't he be in it? Yeah, it's, like, all
I
the
thought it was
same.
like a new I thought it was like a
No,
new
it's all the
gang.
same guy. Well, there is, like, a new gang, but there's also, like, the old gang.
What?
He's not gonna turn down the Now You See Me paycheck unless he's not. I mean, Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson are
Oh, no, Dave
definitely
Franco is here,
and Dave
yes,
Franco.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's all of them. I think it's
yeah.
everybody.
Ilsa
Um,
Fisher,
yeah,
Mark
yeah,
Ruffalo, Morgan Freeman, Daniel
indeed. All the
Radcliffe.
regular got Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah,
This is a crazy cast.
it is. Yeah.
This is a ridiculous cast.
Um, but yeah, they get up on the stage. Dave Franco and Zoe take it away, and then the Nicholas Stoller has to do the Kool Aid presentation. He's the only guy there who is not on drugs, and so that's the least of their problems. And then the gang, the studio gang has to go up there. And it's fun. They like when Seth Rogen brings him on stage, he's like, I love the people who make movies. And then he just brings out a bunch of like studio work. It's like a
Well,
bunch
like,
of people who work there.
assistants and stuff,
Yeah,
like
like it's just like
yeah.
none of these people have any creative control over the movies being made. But I thought it was funny. And then the presentation goes I kind of assumed that the presentation would ultimately end up going well in like a funny way. But it goes well in the way where if we're talking about some of the stuff we thought might happen earlier in the season and also like moving forward, just not stuff that you have to worry about at all because yeah, like you said last week, it's like you forgot that Seth Rogen is also surrounded by other people who are dumb. But
Yeah.
it's like when you're watching this, you realize it's like not only is he not going to lose his job, but he's not even the dumbest one. That like his boss is
No.
dumber than him.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so now it's like the stuff that we were speculating about at the beginning of the season is not really something we have to be concerned about with at all moving forward. Like that's
It's
the
gonna be the
least
same thing
him
next
yeah,
season,
him
yeah.
getting fired is like the least concerning possibility. Like that's not happening. But I did think that what they posed with the whole Amazon thing, as funny as it was, is like a good conflict for a season of television, like, moving forward, you know? But that obviously, they're not gonna, um well, I guess it will be a conflict at the beginning of next season because we don't really know what the result we know the presentation went well, but we don't know what that means in terms of the possibility of them being bought. Uh, so we that's something that we'll find out, in season 2. But something like that, something of that nature, I think is like a good central conflict for season 2, as opposed to like worrying about whether or not this guy will lose his job. Like now we know he won't lose his job, and so it becomes about the studio as like a whole.
And do these movies do well and all of this,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And then we'll get
It was a
a lot
pretty
of episodes with
smart, so at the beginning of the season, we were talking about, like, "Oh, is every episode gonna be, like, a little bit of a bottle, or is there
yeah,
gonna be, like, big, like, long." And there are, they set up all of these movies throughout the season.
yeah,
We have a CinemaCon thing where it's like, "Here's the 3 movies that we've set up," right?
yeah.
And we have all these returning characters. We have, like, this arc with Patty.
Mhm.
It is like a
No, it
yeah.
is pretty smart. Like everything ends up connecting and it all comes together uh and I imagine season 2 is going to be a lot of the same. I don't think they would switch up the formula. I guess the only thing they could possibly do is
It's
like
gonna be about the tariffs. It's gonna be about movie tariffs.
about movie tariffs. Oh
Is
my
is
god,
is
imagine
is
John Voight is like the main
imagine
antagonist
Sal
of
going
season
to
2.
China? Sal Sapertine in China? Wait, get me in this writer room,
You
this writing room, bro.
mind if a white boy speaks a little Chinese?
Ni hao. Yeah, no. Oh.
Okay.
What? What's up?
No, nothing.
Okay,
Just
yeah.
you threw
Oh.
a curveball at me. It's just I don't know how I'm supposed to respond to that. I didn't have my accent prepared, nor did I start practicing my Chinese. Um, anyway, yeah. Are you excited for season 2?
Yeah, no, I mean, excited. Here's my thing. There's some people are like, this is exactly what the world needed right now. Is the studios that it hit the moment on the head. And I'm like, it's fun. It's a fine show, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's fun. And I'm
Where?
excited for season 2. It's like, yeah, I'm happy season 2 is happening. I'll watch it probably. If I will
Mm,
certainly watch it if we cover it on the podcast again, right?
yeah,
But I'm not a big fan of TV in general though, you know? So
sure.
it's like
But
it's
you
fine.
liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's
I
fun. I
feel.
do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Would you say it's better or worse than House? The show that you said was dumb, bad, and reactionarily conservative.
Yeah, so it, like, has to be better than House, but House also is, like, a little magical in terms of its slop, you know?
Yeah, like you
Um,
if you could only watch one for the rest of your let's assume that the studio has as many seasons as House. If you could only watch one for the rest of your life, I'm assuming you'd pick House.
I'm never going to watch another episode of House again, so I will pick the
Like, for the
studio.
rest of your life?
Yeah, I've seen every episode of House, I'm not going
Okay,
to
but
rewatch
it would
any of
also
them.
erase your memory of what you've seen of House. Like, if only one of these shows could exist in your life.
Low key low key oh, I don't know, that's tough. No, it's not. I would watch the studio, of course. House is
Really?
bad, bro.
Okay.
House is, like, bad for your
Yeah, but
brain.
you just watched all of it. How many seasons is House?
8.
You just watched 8 seasons worth of House and
Over,
you're
like, 2 years, but yeah.
okay, fair. I feel like I thought you watched them much quicker. I feel like I
No,
remember
no,
you
no.
telling me that you started it, like, very recently, but maybe
Maybe
I'm
I I
I'm
don't
just
know.
misremembering.
I don't know, but
Um,
I did watch all of House. Not Jeffrey Wright. Fuck, we never even talked about Jeffrey Wright in The Last of Us. Where did he go? He's in an
and
episode of House, and he's really good.
okay. What? What? He's not really relevant right now.
Sorry. Yeah, no, the studio, how do you feel about it, Kevin?
I like it quite a bit. I think, yeah, I'm probably in the same position as you, where for me, like, TV just has to keep me coming back. I'm not like there's very few shows where I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Even less if they're coming out in the modern day. Uh, but on the what's like the what's like the worst show that I still actively watch? Is it The Bear? Maybe I don't know. On the Bear to the Pit scale, I'd say it's I'd say it's like it's
Super unrelated shows to the studio. Um,
well, I just mean
The
like the
Bear and the
Pit.
Pit are way more similar to each other than the
I
studio
just mean
side of
like in terms
this.
of shows that I am actively watching that are currently airing live on TV with new seasons coming out in the future.
On the
The
scale of
Pit
Love
is
Island to The Pit,
okay. Well, those are my two favorite shows on TV, so that's like not even obviously the studio is worse than both of those. I mean, it's not that's not really uh a fair. That's why I said The Bear because I'm trying to think of like what the worst show that I still. Oh, you know what the worst show that I still watch is, or saying I still watch it is probably unfair because there hasn't been a season in like 6 years, but the final season is coming out soon, and I probably will watch it since I've already seen 4 of them, is Stranger
I
Things.
knew you were gonna say
Yeah,
Stranger once you said there hasn't been a season in 6 years, I was like,
yeah.
"You're talking about Stranger
That's
Things."
that's probably the worst show that I am currently but sa you know what I mean? It's like saying I currently watch it is wrong, but it's like
Stranger Things
I
is
will watch the
so
final season.
interesting because it is technically a TV show in the sense that it's episodes. It's like an
Yeah,
episodic thing that you watch on your TV. It is so culturally the way that people interact with it different from any other TV show that has ever existed,
yeah,
right? Where it's like a season comes out like every like 5 years, it feels like every 4 years or whatever, right?
yeah,
um they all like the seasons drop all at once, so everybody binges it, right?
yeah.
In one sitting. The episodes are all 90 minutes long. You know, so it's
Well,
like
that
it
was
is,
also only, like, a recent season problem. I mean,
right?
the
But like, you know
season
what I
4 is when
mean?
they, like, extended them to, like, movie length.
It's like it's so different from any other TV show that has
Yeah,
ever existed ever. It's so interesting. Like,
yeah.
Stranger Things is so bizarre. Sorry,
No, I
yeah, sorry.
agree. I listen, I think the
Yeah,
studio is better than Stranger Things, I'll say that. It is one of those shows this is where I'm at right now. If I were gonna, like, put it into words as opposed to comparing it to shows, and I think this is just an uphill battle that, like, half-hour comedies face for me as opposed to, like, gripping dramatic television, uh, I'm more likely to just, like, stop watching half-hour comedies unless it's like, like I just said, I started Arrested Development recently. It's like that show is so funny that I can't help but watch it. But,
better
like,
than the
most
studio.
I mean, come on.
I don't
What
well,
are
I'm never
what
going
are
to
we
watch
talking
Arrested Development,
Why
so I don't
not?
know. What?
Come on.
What do you mean, come on? This is what I mean when I'm like, I don't really like TV, is because I'm sitting down, right? And it's like I have options as to what I could do with the open availability of my time, right? And
Yeah,
it's like I could watch a movie, I could read a book, or I could watch TV. And it's like, well, priorities a little bit, you know? I don't know. Maybe that makes me
sure.
sound like an asshole, but
No, I
like
mean, I don't think you are. I think my priorities are mostly in line with that, although I guess I watch a little bit more TV than you, but yeah, like I said, I'm likely to drop half-hour comedies probably for that reason, because I'm not getting much more out of them than a good laugh. Um, and so the studio, it's like one of those shows where it's like, I could see myself enjoying season 2 and then also being like, I probably don't wanna watch in season 3, like, I probably had enough of this. But also, I could see it getting better in season 2 and being like, this is one of my favorite shows on TV. I think it really depends, like, I don't know where they go, but, because maybe it's also one of those things where they only have a season's worth of story to tell. I wonder, like,
No,
yeah.
season 2 will be fun. Season 2 will be
Yeah.
fun.
I
It'll
I think it will be, but you don't really know until it's here, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's just
Um,
how fucking bro. That's how life is, man. That's how fucking life is. You don't
okay,
know.
dude.
You don't know what's coming until it's here, man.
Alright.
It's like you can only expect so much, but really got to go with the flow, man. You gotta go with the. We got
Alright,
to go with
dude.
the motion of the ocean. That's what K Meeks is kind of laying down on the pod right now. Some fucking wisdom.
Is this revenge for me bringing up Zoe Rose Bryant last
Shut
week?
the fuck up. Shut the. Oh my god.
Final thing I'll ask, are there any questions we have about the studio moving forward? Any questions you have for season 2? Anything you're curious about, either plot-wise or just show-wise?
No, I'll flip this. Name 3 cameos you would like to see in the studio season 2.
Ooh, okay. I think I think we need somebody really, you know who I'd like?
Who?
Who's having a little bit of a moment right now? Walton Goggins. I think
Oh,
is
that's a
I think
good
is
one. That's a good one.
incredibly funny and is having a bit of a moment right now. Uh he was in, he's in The Righteous Gemstones, which I'm watching right now. He was in The White Lotus, which I watched the new season of. Um and he's really funny in both of them. And he's also just a really good actor. So I'd say Walton Goggins. And then I don't know because it's weird to like you can't really pick like the super A-listers, but
No,
also
yeah.
but also
Are you thinking
as
like Timothée Chalamet?
I'm thinking Tom Cruise.
Oh, that's too crazy. That's like
Well,
way too
because it's about the studio, and so I'm like, what? Like, can you imagine trying to form a plot for an episode around Tom Cruise? Like, that is the ideal.
he would
They
be
they'd have
that would be
so
like
many
the that would
jokes
be
to
like the
make.
first episode of the season, like what they did with Martin Scorsese. That
Yeah,
yeah, it would have to be like that.
I mean, it
That
would
would
be
be crazy.
perfect from
Yeah,
like a writing
that would
perspective.
be
It's like that's a
perfect, actually.
gold mine.
Yeah, no, that's like that
Uh,
would be like perfect number 1 guy would be Tom Cruise. Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
that would
especially
be
for just
really
like
perfect.
what the show is about, and then I'll pick a director, I guess, since I named 2 actors. Um, who's a director I would wanna see on there? I because it's gotta be kinda somebody who's, like, pretty mainstream. You know what? I'll pick somebody who's, like, I'll pick a basic answer just because he's also funny. I'll say Jordan Peele because he's funny.
Okay. Yeah. He is pretty that's funny. Okay. So the first person I thought of was Ari Aster. Um,
Okay, yeah, that'd be good too.
I think Ari
He's
Aster
like
would
he's,
be
like,
fun.
awkward, I
Yeah, he's
think,
like
so
awkward. Yeah.
it
I
would
think I
work.
I think he would be really fun as a
He
little
could
bit of a
honestly,
character.
if you wanted a more high profile version of it, he could honestly slot well into what Nicholas Stoller did this season as, like, a recurring director character.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he has like a really good energy because he is just like this little awkward fucking nerd.
yeah,
I saw it was somebody on Twitter, lots of Twitter talk, lots of we were very online.
yeah,
But they said like
that's okay.
because the his new movie, Ari Aster's new movie Eddington just premiered at Cannes. I'm assuming we'll talk about this in a couple of days. But
Yeah.
uh and it was somebody on Twitter said that Ari Aster said that he gets really sad when he goes online and sees people hating on his movies because all the people that he sees hating on his movies have the same taste in movies that he does.
Yeah, yeah, which is so funny, but also, like, probably just a real problem.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real dilemma that I feel at some point I will face and maybe many of us will face. That
Yeah.
especially as a result of, like, Letterboxd where it's like and being chronically online where it's like, if I ever make a movie, I how am I not gonna read the Letterboxd reviews, you know?
Right.
Like,
You know what I think is a really realistic cameo that actually, if we were making bets, I think this wouldn't be a bad bet to make. Would be Scarlett Johansson making
oh,
an appearance in season 2 of the
okay.
studio.
I
I
mean,
think
I
that's
think I
possible.
think Walton Goggins was my realistic one where it's like I could
Yeah.
actually see that happening.
I think I could see Scarlett Johansson making an appearance just because she's a director now, director actress. Like
Yeah.
she's basically like a more famous version of Zoe Kravitz, kind of in a
Yeah.
way. But she's also like I don't know her appearance on SNL, I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
that, was very good, very
I
funny.
did see it, yeah. Well, I thought I watched the Weekend Update, which is, like, my favorite part of SNL, and that was I mean, they killed it this
Yeah.
time. They did. That's probably one of the best Weekend Updates they've ever done. Uh, yeah, that's a good point. I get you know what I'm thinking is, like, they are pretty good, though, and I'm trying to think of what might align with this because we don't actually know when season 2 is gonna come out or, like, when go into I mean, I assume it's gonna go into production pretty soon probably because this is, like, a show that they're not gonna spend 4 years between seasons on.
Yeah.
Um, they're pretty good at, like, getting people who are really because 'cause I'm thinking about, like, people who are big in TV, and it's like, they had Adam Scott on an episode. Adam Scott led, like, the biggest show of
That was also a little bit of, like, an Apple TV connection,
Yeah,
maybe.
but that's true, probably, but
Yeah.
it's also, like, I guess it wouldn't surprise me. I'm trying to think of, like, what other, like,
Who's,
big TV shows might be coming
Natasha
out
what's her name?
around Natasha Lyonne?
Yeah, Natasha Lyonne, right? She's in
What
a big
is
TV show. She's in
is
Poker Face.
Oh, that's not is that like a that's not like Severance though. I'm trying to think of like the buzziest shows. Like what I meant is they're pretty good at getting people like while they're buzzy, which is like I'm saying Walton Goggins,
Alright,
but is
Walton
Walton
Goggins.
Goggins going to be in the same
Well, no, because the Fallout's coming
Oh,
out.
true.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Walton
okay.
Goggins will still be in the
Okay,
cultural
yeah.
because
Good point. Good point. I didn't think
he's
about
yeah.
that. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm thinking of like what other shows will be like a big deal in like let's say the next year that like would then work well in the studio, you know what I mean? Uh so that's something to think about. But I'm sure they'll get people. I mean, they got a bunch of people this season who I really like, like Zac Efron for me was like the highlight in terms of maybe not performance, but in terms of like how much I like a person that was in the show. I think they'll probably bring in a number of actors and directors that I'm a fan of.
The Martin Scorsese cameo was, like, huge, was, like,
Yeah.
such a big one where it does kind of raise the ceiling as to I think Tom Cruise might be a little too high, but
Yeah, but they could
it
probably
yeah,
get up there
yeah,
in terms especially because now you're working with the fact that the season exists. Like you
right.
have a successful first season to be like,
So
this
you
is
could
what
approach
it is.
somebody and be like, would
Yeah.
you like to be this role in our
Not to mention a bunch
show?"
of people will just be fans of it
And
probably.
it's like, yeah, Martin Scorsese played a similar role. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But no, I mean, so many people will probably just watch the show. Like so many
yeah.
actors are probably going to be asking to be on the
I
show.
would love to interview, Tom Cruise and ask him about the studio. Do you know about the studio? Do you know about this TV show?
Just see what he says.
To see what he says. Oh, Chris
Imagine
speaking of Tom Cruise, you could kinda cheat, you can get Christopher McQuarrie on the season.
oh, what would he even I wonder what like the made up Christopher McQuarrie project would be. Because it's like what is he what would he even be doing where Tom Cruise isn't involved? It's like they just like make up a movie
They
with
could, like,
like
talk around Tom Cruise, where it's like Tom Cruise, like, couldn't make the meeting, so Christopher
but that
McQuarrie
would be like that
yeah.
would be like a bummer though. That would make it a worse episode, I
It would
think.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Anyway, leave in the comments below who you want on the studio's second season. That's going to be all from us on the studio. And next week, we will finish up The Last of Us, and then we'll do a little bit of regrouping and determining what the path forward is for our TV pods. Maybe we'll take a break. Maybe there'll be something for us to talk about. Uh, that's to be determined.
We will probably come back again this year,
Yeah,
probably,
I'd
but
say in 2025, it's likely
it
that
is likely, yes,
we'll
yeah.
we'll be around.
Perhaps
Um,
with Owen.
well, let's not get the people's hopes up,
I'm
but
no,
it's
I'm saying
possible.
perhaps,
Anything's possible. Yeah,
perhaps. I'm just
anything's
saying
possible.
perhaps. We've
Yeah,
discussions have been had, but
yeah. Discussions have been had. When you guys find out what show they've been had about, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck? That's the show that Owen wanted to do."
it'll be so jolly actually if
I'll
we do
reveal
it.
this. It's a show that I have watched already that Doug and Owen have not,
Yeah,
but you guys can try to make your guesses in the comments as well.
yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.